Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in today's video, just like the title says, I'm going to be sharing my story about that one time I was homeless. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have a roof over my head. I was talking to my husband about this actually, and he almost led me to tears. If you don't know, or if you know, we just bought a home in Canada, our highest investment to date, and just thinking about my story of how one time I literally didn't have a roof over my head. And in retrospect, like, that season was hard, honestly. I was in a journey of like spiritual well-being and like spiritual journey. I just started my faith walk at that time. So that middle line where it's like, oh, we tend to attach everything to the spiritual that we actually don't take care of our mental health. And as a Christian influencer, as a Christian girl, now I know that yes, we have God. Yes, everything is promised. Good life is promised, good health is promised. However, we also need to talk to people, and that's why I want to introduce you to the sponsors of today's video. Thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it is 100% online, and they have over 25,000 licensed therapists. From the comfort of your home, from the comfort of your phone, you can speak with a licensed therapist who is not only experienced but can also help you in a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's through text, chat, phone, or video call. You can even message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it is convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling, flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Now you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Tolulokwe, and I've also linked it in my description box below. Now back to the story I was saying. At that point, honestly, it was just a sacrifice for the kind of life, and I wouldn't say I regret that time, honestly. Here's the story. So I finished my NYSC, and I stayed with my uncle during my NYSC. If you don't know, NYSC is the 1 year thing you have to do after your undergraduate degree in Nigeria. So I done my own in Abuja, and when I was done, I stayed with my uncle while I was doing it, and when I was done, it was like, okay, I'm going. In fact, my parents had told him, oh, thank you and everything, and then I left his house. Now at this time, I was at a period where I was trying to decide what to do in my life, honestly. And I know we've all been there, those transitional periods. Oh my goodness, if you're not patient and persevere through them, it can literally determine the course of your life, and it can make or mar it, honestly. So at that point, my dad had insisted that, just like my elder sister did, I should go to the UK and further my education, go to your master's like your sister. But during my NYC was actually a period where, even though I had been born again, literally since my mother's womb, like I'd been a church goer and stuff, my trajectory was like, oh, Christian girl. But that was when I started to develop a personal relationship with God during my NYC. Like, I took God more seriously. I started hearing word that was good for my soul, my spirit. So I was holding on to that so much. And I was also holding on to boyfriend. Let me put it out there and not just say, oh, it was just my relationship with God. I also had a boyfriend then where, I didn't want to also up and leave. I'm going to do my master's. I knew master's will come, but I just told my parents that, what, I don't want to do it right now. I promise I'm going to get a job. So my parents didn't have a problem with me staying back in Abuja, but they were like, as long as you get a job, like, you can't just be there and not have a job. And I was no more with my uncle. And so my parents gave me a car when I was going to do NYC, and honestly, I know that that's a lot of privilege, and I'm so grateful for it because that car served me. I sold things in that car. Oh my goodness, I used that car for so long. They brought it all the way from Accra, almost 5-hour trip at the time. So that was all I had, like, for me, and it really served me. But my parents are like, we can't now pay for a house as well for you when you've not secured a job. That would be irresponsible of us. If you say you're not going for your master's, then maybe when you get a job, you can get a house, like teaching me responsibility and all those stuff. Now there was this program that was in my local church at the time that I'm just like, you know what, this program is also going to help me. It was a fasting and prayer. I love retreats so much. I had one at the beginning of this year, and I'm excited to share with you guys how that went. But anyway, I wanted to also stay for that retreat. So right after my NYSC, I went briefly to my parents and I went back. My parents were like, where are you going to stay? I'm like, don't worry, I'll sort myself and blah blah blah. I had a friend from like secondary school, was living in Abuja at the time. So before I traveled, I told her that, oh please, can I just stay in your house for about 2 weeks, because the program I was going for was like 7 days. So I'm like, oh, after the program, maybe I'll have 7 days. Hopefully, I was like, maybe I'll get a job. That was the time I was just going to do the exam of the job I eventually did. Other people had promised me jobs, but it didn't come through, right? So I went and I did that exam, but I just told her, please, let me just stay in your house for 2 weeks. I introduced her to the church. And the funny thing is, 2 days before I left for Abuja back again, she was like, oh, that boyfriend is coming. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm like, heavenly God, like, you have to come through for me. I told her, I said, please, maybe after the program I will leave. And she was like, okay, no problem. So I just told my parents, okay, I'm going to stay with so person. She also grew up in Akure, and they were like, okay, oh, go and come. But obviously my parents also knew that I was going to do that exam for the job, for the potential job. So it wasn't like I was just going without any plan, like, no. So they were like, okay, you're just gonna do your exam and we'll see how it goes, right? So I went to Abuja, and I remember getting to a house with my car. Like, thinking about it now, it can almost move me to tears, because like that was a season that was just off the book. Like, I didn't process that time. So I got to a house. I remember I was just have to pack aside, and when I say a house, it was a self-contained. It was just her, a kitchen. If I was a stove. Like, it was not the best living condition. Yes, we had TV and all of that, but then again, I was always so uncomfortable because I didn't want to be at home alone. She had a job, so I was always uncomfortable being in her space. And I would be like, oh, I hope I'm not depriving now of her boyfriend coming. And so, because she said she had to cancel with him, like, I just felt uncomfortable being in someone else's space like that. Not like I adapted. That's one thing about me. Like, I adapted to using the stove to cook. But because it was also a retreat, I was fasting. So I wasn't eating much in that time. But I remember every night after church, I'll cook noodles. I ate noodles for 7 days, guys. 7 good days. Isn't God just faithful? 7 days I ate noodles for. And but I had a car. I was telling my husband how somebody I knew was coming out from that estate that day, and I saw them. I'm like, oh, you go to my church, come in. And they were going to like somewhere that was like 40 minutes away, and I'm like, oh, come in, it's fine, I'll drop you. And I went to drop them. So all that labor of love, I'm sure God rewarded it. But anyway, 1 week had passed. So at this point, I knew that it would be unreasonable to just like, I can't sleep in my car. So I went to church that day, and I found someone. Shout out to you, Grace Momo. I found someone. We sat together. Long story short, she too was in a period of coasting transition, and we had that conversation like that same week, and we just moved the motion of how much do you have? How much do you have? We spoke to someone in church. They were going out of their apartment to somewhere else, but they still had 6 months rent. So me and my friend came together to pay the 6 months rent in like somewhere that was like almost 45 minutes or 1 hour away from our church. 45 minutes or 30 minutes actually. Abuja is not that big, but it was not like, oh, Wuse or city center where, you know, you'll be balling and close to everywhere. Anyway, myself and Grace just decided, okay, let's just take this place and, you know, just hide our heads. By the time we're over it, we'll know what the trajectory of our lives will be. And I remember that, you know, we put money together. The man took us to the house. It was a decently big condition. It had its own kitchen compartment, its own washroom compartment. And we bought a mattress, we threw it on the floor, and we were there. That was when my results for my exam, the job that I'd done, had come out, and I passed. So my parents were happy. Obviously, they knew that I'd gotten a house, and to be fair, they even sent me money when I now said that, oh, I've gotten a job. They were so excited. They sent me money. Okay, now you can't go for masters, well, you know. And I'll take it. I like the discipline. I like that even though they could afford to like put a roof over my head, they just gave me a car to move around because that was a necessity. But they did not spoil me to say, okay, now go and rent this apartment. I would take it, honestly. So when I got a job, they sent me money. Like all those things are things that have grounded me today. I cannot even lie to you. So many things, so many layers to this story. So I got a job, and myself and my friend were still in the house because we were committed for 6 months, of which we even ended up renewing the rent. I'm not sure now. I think we did. I'm not sure, honestly, if we renewed that rent or we stayed in the house for 6 months. Because I know that my sisters came to visit me in the house one time. That same job I got for my friend to, that my Grace friend, just introduced her to someone who helps me with the exam slot. And one of my friends that was in Ibadan, we schooled together. One random day she just messaged me talking about how she was being paid 15k at an IT job. I'm like, impossible. Like my job right now, after this 4 months training school, they are going to be paying me 250 grand. 215 grand as entry level. No way you're earning 15k. So I pressed buttons again. Oh my goodness, that bank, you would think it was me that owned it, the way I used to also people to enter it. And I give glory to God, honestly. I think it's just that generosity of paying it forward. I also that again. She came to Abuja for the exam all the way from Ibadan. I remember her mom calling me to say, oh, I know that you people were friends in school, but please, her dad is not here, blah blah blah. She came, she stayed in that my house. Like, so even in my cubicle, I was still being a blessing. And I didn't plan to say all of these parts, but it's all just coming to me. So anyway, myself and my friend were in the house. So we had this 4 months of training school we had to do. It was also intense. And oh my goodness, there was one guy that was staying like just 5 minutes or 10 minutes into the estate, but the road to his estate was horrible, like bad. And I remember that every day, once I realized, oh, you stay in Lokogoma, I stay in Lokogoma. Every day I would pick him and drop him off, pick him and drop him off. Did he used to buy fuel in my car? No. I mean, that story for another day, because why didn't you? But I didn't have that expectation. Along the line, my window spoiled. So one day, I think he chose to fix the window or something like that, because that was the side of the car anyway. But my point is, days that it would be muddy, raining and everything, I'll still go and pick him up and drop him off. Like, that's how I was being a blessing. And we would drive the whole of like 30 minutes to where our training school class was. I remember going one day, my mom was like, nobody remember all these times that, you know, you're literally fighting to be somebody, to have your own. And I'm just forever thankful for it. But back to my house situation. So I remember that day, like maybe I was into like 1 month into training, like 2 months into the house. We didn't have a rug, and it wasn't like carpeted or anything. It was like bare floor. Bare floor. And oh my goodness, God is so gracious and good. So I'd saved 70,000 naira to, you know, it was my responsibility to do the rug, and I think it was Grace's responsibility to get us a TV or something like that. And guys, I went to church that day. I had the 70k in my bag because they were paying us 50k per month or 40k per month in my training school. I had the 70k in my bag, and there was this altar call about, you know, sowing a seed and stuff. I went out, I used my rug money, I gave it to God. If you like, I gave it to church. That's your business. So in my mind, I don't care what the pastor does with it. I don't care. But I wanted there to be food in the house of the Lord. I gave it to the Lord. And they will say alabaster box offering. I've gone. I'm there. One time I was doing business with my sister. When she was in the UK around this season, I was still serving before all of this. She would send me clothes to sell from the UK. And we made good money. I'll put the clothes in my car and sell it to the staff of the bank, because I eventually walked where I served to. And guys, I told my sister one day, I said, I'm giving all our profit to church. All our profit. She was just looking at me like, girl, are you crazy? Like, how are you doing like you're the first person to find Jesus? Right, boy? Like, it all paid out for us right now. Like, oh my goodness. I'm not even sure if we eventually rocked the house before I left, honestly. But I shall know that from there, my sisters came to visit me. And then I got the job. Like, I passed the training school. I was even like third position. Yeah, they awarded first, second and third. I was third position. The first two, they were even chartered accountants, because the training school was really thorough. And anyway, everything just worked out for good, honestly. But that's the gist. I just wanted to come and tell that story, because I don't think something I've shared publicly, and now it's like, oh, they bought this big house and things like that. But there's a journey to everything, right? So if you're in that process where it's like shaky water, troubling water for you right now, like, I feel like the essence of me saying there was a time I was homeless is just to let you know that that's not the end of your story. It's a process. Even after my master's, the only difference between that time and after my master's was I eventually went for my MBA when I'd worked for about 3 years. So I had a lot of savings, I'd gone to do my master, so I could afford to get a place. I just didn't want to personally. So the mindset was not, oh, because you can't afford it right now. It was I could, but I wanted to be sure of the state I would live in. I mean, I was already dating my husband. They had a house in Lagos. But my friend Jolade too accommodated me in that transitional period, right? It was good as I was homeless, honestly. First it was Lolade, but she was staying so far from my office. And she had a big house. Lolade had a very big 3-bedroom house. She gave me one whole room. All my stuff was there. But the driving back and forth, of which when I came back to Nigeria after masters too, a car was like first on my list. I had a car, but the driving back and forth was a lot for me, like so much for me. One day I was sleeping in that Aja Lekki traffic, so I had to move forward closer to my office, which was in Oniru. I mean, if you're not a Nigerian subscriber, Lagos subscriber, you won't know this, but I mean, I have my people here. So I had to move forward, and my friend who was staying in a very small house now, we're both in Canada now, Jolade, she also took me in. And I remember I would stay in a house during the week, and I would go back to Lolade's house, over the weekend. But anyway, that's my story, and I just wanted to share it. And I'm thankful for, where God is still leading me. This is still not the end of my story, right? And it's not just in material things, it's also in the journey of your faith. Sometimes we see results when we pray, other times we don't. Like, I've been in situations where I'm like, God, you can literally turn on that switch and this will happen. You do these miracles every day. Why are you not doing this, right? But I think the beautiful part of our faith work too is this process, knowing that at the end of it all, whatever it is we go through, God is right there. Like, He's right there with us. He is right there, and the plans He has for us, they are of good and not of evil, to bring us to an expected end. So it might look shaky, it might look worrisome, it might look like you don't even know which way is up, as the Bible calls it, Message Bible, but God stays faithful, and He will come through, and He will end in His praise, right? Like I said, this is not the end, but look at my life giving God glory because of this huge milestone me and my husband hit recently, right? And I just wanted to share that to, shed some light or give some light. If you're renting, if you're homeless, like I was at some point, if you're in a rental, maybe you're scrambling for rent, just hold on to God, hold on to hard work hard. Like, even though all these things I said, look at how I've been working, like, you keep sowing the seed, the harvest is sure, because guess what, God has already made the ground fertile. That was what He did when He died on Calvary. The ground is already fertile, right? But you can no longer show me your faith without your work as well. Before I turn this to a whole sermon, I hope you enjoyed this story time. I enjoyed sharing it, and thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't here. It's awesome all the way. And thank you again, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Whenever your heart is broken, don't ever forget you're golden. I will find the light in your soul.